Hello everyone, Sir Weds here and welcome back to Educ Nation. Today I'll teach you how to automatically hide rows based on multiple conditions or results of your Excel data. In other words, if the result of a certain cell meets our condition, then the row it is contained must be hidden automatically. This is very useful when your table does not have any filter option because you are merging cells in your report. But before we formally begin, I'd like to send some shoutouts to Miss Ana Pinky Estrada for showing her support to our channel by sending us her donation to keep our projects going and also to be able to continue making helpful videos such as this one in the future. For everyone else who'd like to help us out in continuing these projects we have, you can check out the description box on this video to see what are the different modes of which you can send us your donations. Even a single peso is highly appreciated, for it's the thought that really counts. Now, on to our tutorial. As you can see here, I have already prepared a sample template to be used for our demonstration. The file is a performance grading report for the mathematics subject wherein we have the group of male and female students. The report consists of 32 boys and 47 girls, which contains a lot of blank rows here, and a number of blank rows as well here in the bottom. The objective or the goal we have for today is 1. To hide the unused rows for both male and female groups, and 2. To hide all the failed students in our class for both male and female so that we can only see the students who passed this course. And in order to achieve our goal, just like in our previous tutorial video, we need to create a helper column to allow MS Excel to identify if the conditions are met. So let's make this column our first helper column. Let's type helper column. This column will be used to identify if this row is empty or not. We can use the if condition in our formula with that. Thus, we type equals if, open parenthesis, this cell is not empty, then give me a result of 0. And if it's not empty, then give me a result of 1. Let me show you the formula again. So that is, if A13 is empty, then it should give me a value of 0. If it's not empty, then it should give me a value of 1. And as you can see that A13 is not empty, which means this row is not empty. That is why it gave us a result of 1, which is correct. What's next is to drag this formula all the way down to our last male student by holding the shift button and clicking the last row for our male student in order to highlight all of these cells, and then press Ctrl D to populate the formula to all of it. Now all the results are available and we have identified which rows are empty and which are not using the values of 0 and 1. What we need to do next is to copy this cell here and paste it on the first row cell of our female group. And the result is 1. And if you look at the formula here, it says that if A114 is empty, it should give me a result of 0 or else give me a result of 1. That's A114 there because our first male student is found here on our 114th row. After that, we need to do the same thing we did a while ago, which is to populate this formula down to our last female student by highlighting all of it and of course pressing Ctrl D on our keyboards. That completes our first objective of identifying which rows are empty and which are not. The next thing we need to identify is to find out if a student is able to pass or fail the subject as what is shown in our remarks column here. So we're going to create a new helper column here and we're going to name it as remarks helper. Okay, now we've got that one, but maybe we'll color our columns just to show some emphasis on each condition. We'll color this column yellow like so, and this new column would be light green. Yep, that's okay. Now let's work with our formula here. We type equals if this remarks cell here is equal to failed, which is what we're trying to hide, then it should give me a value of 0. And if it's not failed, which means it passed, then it should give me a result of 1. The result gave us 1 here because the remarks cell here is passed, which means we are not aiming to hide this row. After that, we need to repeat the same process we did in our first helper column, which is to populate our formula all throughout our report table. Let's go back up and look at the results. You may be wondering why we have a value of 1 here in this cell wherein the remarks column is actually empty. Well, we must remember that our formula was conditioned to identify if the remarks cell showed a data of failed. So if it did not give us that particular data, then it will automatically be giving us a result of 1. Now we're done identifying both conditions, which is to look for the empty rows and also to identify if the student in a particular row passed or failed the subject mathematics. What's left of us to do is to make Excel identify if any of these conditions were met, then it should automatically hide that row. In our helper results, we can see that there are rows that have zeros in one row and there are also zeros in both columns. That would mean that one of our conditions or both of our conditions were actually met and therefore Excel must hide that row. So in order for Excel to identify if there are any zeros in our rows, we will create a final helper column. Let's fix the width right here and choose a color for our column. Maybe we'll choose blue. Okay, that looks nice. Now in our cell, we must create a formula that will tell if our helper column or our remarks column has any value that is equal to 0. If either of these columns should contain 0 in it, then the result here in our final helper column should also be 0. And if not, then it should give us a value of 1. To make that formula, we will type if open parenthesis or, which will be the determinant of our 0 within the range of cells, so that's or open parenthesis, which is this cell is equal to 0, and then comma, this cell is equal to 0, and then close parenthesis, then comma, should give us a value of 0. And if it's not, then it should give us a value of 1. Let me show you our formula again. So that's if open parenthesis or AG13 is equal to 0, which is this cell, or AH13 is equal to 0, which is also this one, which means if either of these cells is equal to 0, so that is what this OR formula stands for. Then that should give us a value of 0. And if these conditions are not achieved, then it should give us a value of 1. To sum up, our formula is telling us that if either AG13 or AH13 has a value of 0, it should always give us a result of 0. And if neither of these cells contains any 0, then it should give us a result of 1. So, let's press enter, and as you can see, it gave us a result of 1. Now we're going to drag this formula all the way down to our last row of our male student. With that, let's check our results if it did give us our desired conditions. So this cell is 1, and beside it is 0, so it should give us a result of 0, which is correct. With that, we have already identified which rows in our report should be hidden based on the value of the remarks section, and if the row itself is empty or does not contain any data. And since we already checked our formula for our male columns, we can just copy the last cell of our male column results and paste it on our first female row in our table here. We highlight both of these cells and then go down to our last female row and press Ctrl D. Okay, that basically completes our conditions, and all that's left for us is to create a button which will be used to hide all of these rows that are identified as 0 in our final helper column. So we go to our developer tab and click on button and maybe place it around here. We're just gonna leave all of these items as is and just click on OK. After that, we'll adjust the size of our button like so, and next maybe we'll change the title of this button here. Let's say this is our hide rows button. Be sure to click anywhere in our sheet to deselect our button. Aside from that, we also need to change the generic name of our button. So we right-click on our button again to select it. Then click on the button to remove the pop-up option. Then go right here and remove the generic name, which is button 4. And change it to hide rows button, but without the spaces anymore. Okay, we're done with our sheet and our button. Now we're moving to our Visual Basic window by clicking this item here. Once the Visual Basic window is opened, we're going to need to double-click on Sheet 1 since this is our active sheet. With that, the Sheet 1 code window will immediately appear. Let me adjust this code window so that you will be able to see the full view of our codes. The codes we will be using here will be the same codes we used in our previous video. In case you weren't able to watch that, you can see the full video here and a link of which is also available in our description box below. So we're just gonna paste the codes we used previously here in our code window. You don't need to worry yourself in understanding the use of these codes. What we need to do here is just to change some parts of these codes, which are basically the location of our cells in our sheet. The first thing we need to change will be the button name, which is this one. So we changed this button with Hide Rows button, and remember, we didn't place any spaces on each character. And then we also need to change the range. So let me show you the range column of our sheet. Our final helper column is found on our AI column, since the results of our final helper column are also found here. So we changed the .range value here to AI instead of A10,000. Now, that's AI 10,000 right there. And for the ISF counter, which is equal to 5, we need to see where our cell row data started, which is this part here, and that is found on our 13th row. So we're going to change 5 into 13. And the .cells range, which is on column A here, but since our final helper column is on AI, this should also be changed into AI. And that goes the same for this one as well. Let me pull the window in place again. Okay. So we've got the range into AI, and the counter also is now set at the 13th row. And then the columns are also set with AI all here. And lastly, the selected cell after the code is activated is on A1, which is really irrelevant, but if you want to change that one, you can do so. You can now just run this code by clicking here, but I'm gonna close this to assign this macro to our button. Back here in our sheet, here in our created button, we will be right-clicking on it and choose Assign Macro. And on the pop-up window, we choose the Hide Row code we just created and press OK. Now that's already finished, we'd like to refresh everyone that what we're doing is to hide all these empty rows here and all the failed remarks in this column for both the male and female. So let's click our button right here, and finally, let's check. We have automatically hide all the empty rows in our report, so we can now see the female group here and the male group above it. And of course, the report will only show the students that actually passed in our class. And that's about it. This is how you hide rows automatically using multiple condition results on your cells. Here we had two conditions. The first one is if the row is empty and if the cell has failed remarks as a result. I hope you learned something from this tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe here in our channel and always click the notification bell to get notified with our latest videos. Like and share our videos to others so that they would learn from us too. An article of this tutorial is also available below in our description box so that you can go over it again in case you missed something. That wraps it all up for this tutorial. This is Sir Weds of the Integrated School Forums, and thank you for watching.